I've been on a desert and Egypt binge lately thanks to a few personal projects, AC Origins, and a certain video. This got me to search for Egypt-themed PS1 games. What I found was not what I was expecting, but damn am I happy to have found it. This is Cleopatra Fortune, an arcade puzzle game created by the Taito Corporation and Natsume. It was originally released in 1995 for the Taito X55 home karaoke machine as a downloadable game. It would then be released on arcades a year later, followed by multiple home ports. For this video, we'll be looking at the PS1 port which, fun fact, is considered the worst part, and f*** me it shows. I would thematically describe the game as an Entombment puzzle game. Let me explain. Like Tetris, you have to direct blocks down the pit to remove them. Left and right on the D-pad move the blocks, down makes them move faster, and X and triangle rotate them. Familiar, right? Well, it ends here. Unlike Tetris, filling a row is half the battle. First off, blocks come in various shapes and sizes and made of different types. The types of blocks are stone, treasures, and mummies. The aim of the game is to bury treasures enclosing it in stone. Once buried, they'll vanish, leaving the stone blocks to occupy the spaces. And for filled rows to vanish, they have to be made of the same type. While the game is simple, it's not stupid simple. There's a few details to take note of. For starters, parts of a block can detach from the main body to occupy space if it can. This means players shouldn't only pay attention to block placement, but also type arrangement, since blocks can come at irregular shapes like a 2x1 sarcophagus plus a 2x1 stone block. The mummies mentioned earlier is a special block type that needs to be buried with the treasure. Failure to do so means they stay in the pit until you get rid of them. Row elimination also has a neat little detail where it doesn't care about the block size. For example, a vertically positioned 2x1 stone block will vanish with the rest of the row, not just a portion of it. The game has a level system which handles game speed and block variety. It goes up after every 8th block is placed, and if you're in a pinch, a pyramid block can spawn which will remove all stone blocks in a pit. These mechanics keep the game engaging as it gets players thinking. It's not flooding players with too much info, but it's enough to shake up the basic game loop. And it's amazing that in spite of this, the game is still able to keep its simplicity intact, still being easy to pick up and learn. Let's move to the game modes, of which there are 4. Arcade is the main mode, survive and score as much as you can. If you game over, don't fret as the game has unlimited credits, but you'll always restart at the last level in a power of 10. A cool thing about this mode is there's a difficulty selection which gives players a starting level. Easy starts at level 0, giving basic blocks and easing players in. Medium and hard are at level 20 and 40 respectively, therefore players who are familiar with the game and don't want to start from scratch. This is nifty as players can spend time actually playing the level they want rather than climb slowly from scratch. Versus is a 2-player mode where you compete with other players. Both start with a field and you essentially have to survive longer than the opponent. Clear a row sends garbage to your opponent. First to 2 wins is the victor. This is an addition that I find odd as I think most players of the game have the intention of playing arcade mode instead. That said, I appreciate the option for a versus mode. I just wish you can fight with an AI opponent instead of requiring another human player. Mystery is the game's challenge mode under the guise of a story mode. While the story itself is non-existent, the puzzles are not. They're actually difficult, especially if you're new to the game. But that's the thing. This mode is good at teaching players how to plan your moves because unlike arcade mode, you know all of your upcoming blocks and you have to clear a stage by meeting certain requirements. Last is time attack. Reach stage 10 and clear it as fast as you can. To advance the stage, you need to fill up the norm bar, which you do by clearing treasures and rows of blocks. At the end of a run, you're ranked based on how you performed. I find this mode redundant as it's basically arcade mode with a few conditions and requirements. And I feel like the speed aspect of this mode could have been handled better or just not applied at all. Let's talk about visuals. The PS1 port does not do this game justice. There's a lot of details missing and things don't look as clean. The intro video from the arcade version is missing, and if you do a quick internet search, you'll see that the arcade graphics is way better. I read somewhere that the PS1 graphics were redrawn, but that's not the culprit either, as the Dreamcast version uses the same assets but look much better. It's really all in how they handle the assets for this port. The music wasn't spared either. It was rearranged and used for the Dreamcast port too. Personally, I think the original version is way better since there's more detail to the tracks than the newer ones. Here, take a listen. That said, the rearrangement is not the problem. The soundtrack is actually great, with a lot of catchy tunes that you can listen to endlessly. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Shining Queen, the best track in the game. No, the real problem is that the audio on the PS1 version sounds so muddy that they obviously don't sound better than they're supposed to. What a shame. Cleopatra Fortune, in my opinion, is an underrated game that is easily a classic in its genre. It's familiar yet unique, especially when put next to its contemporaries. Despite its age, the game is oddly refreshing and fascinating. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a game that's quite like it. This game would later get an arcade-only follow-up called Cleopatra Fortune Plus, which sports better graphics and a few new characters. Sadly, this would be the last entry of the series, but at least the game's mascot, Patorako, would make cameos in Taito's other titles. I would suggest getting a copy of this game, especially if you love puzzle games. However, I would advise against getting the PS1 version, as other home ports are just better overall. That said, expect to spend money as these versions are pricier than the PS1 port. Only get the PS1 version if you're collecting for the system and nothing else. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, if you like what you saw, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I want to reach 100 subs before we reach the second half of the year, so I hope you can help me on that. I have a Twitter at KenAthomos if you want further updates or if you want to hear me ramble. There's also a Ko-fi page if you want to further support the channel. Links are in the description. Take care!